Well, whichever method you chose to work with, it can be very useful to be able to just look at local motion as you're analyzing what's going on with a walk. So for instance here, if I want to watch the arc of the arms or just see what's going on with the knee, I can do it, but I have to track it across. So the character is kind of moving off, and let me just go ahead and shorten this back up. So the character is just kind of moving off across screen. It's difficult to track those local motions. So a simple way to do this is just grab the controller that's actually doing the forward motion and mute that channel. So if I mute that on the main control for this cycle in place animation, you see it just sits there and I can just focus on the local action. But I already know that I've set this up. If you make a change to the first key or the last key, go back and check that that cycle, that the feet are sticking properly, that everything's working out in the loop. But otherwise, that's pretty much all there is to it. And you can see here, when it's muted, it sort of changes down the color here to this sort of dimmed out color. And when it's unmuted, it just comes right up to the full vibrant color, and now the character will carry on off in the forward direction. Now it's pretty much the same thing on the forward progress, except for we didn't set something up that we could actually mute. So in this case, if we mute the hip motion, for instance, on Translate Z, that means the feet are just going to progressively move away from the body, and obviously that's not what we want. So in this case, the solution is just to go back to the main control, and this is pretty straightforward. You basically just need to calculate the total distance traveled for the hips. So and the hips and both feet should all be traveling the same distance, but it starts at unit 2 and ends at 10 for a total change of 8. So this will just be on this control. Only want a key at the very first frame, very last frame. So we're starting at 0. So that means this one needs to be 8, but we want it to go in the opposite direction. We don't want it to travel this way. We want it to go that way to cancel out this motion. So we make that negative 8. Right? So with that done, I'll go ahead and just press play here. And you can see it's kind of worked. It kind of feels like it's on a wave a little bit, getting pushed forward and back. And again, the issue here is how that interpolation has worked. So remember that with the body, what we did was set the translation to linear because that best represents the consistent speed of someone walking, right? People don't ebb and flow so much as they walk. Like there's not so much of a pulse feel to it. So basically this controller needs to be the same. So on this, on Translate Z only, set that to linear. We should be all set on that. So, so now it should just be sitting in place. Same thing here, whenever you're ready for that thing to start moving forward again, just right click and unmute. I'm sorry, go ahead and mute that. And now that one will head forward once it's muted. That's pretty much the whole thing I wanted to cover in this one. We'll get into more details on the hips and shoulders and all that kind of stuff in future videos.